Greetings, everyone. We should be starting in about 5 minutes. We're just waiting for the portion that is happening outside for Pan-African Women's Day, Sisters Arise or Perish, being featured by Sean Mawase. In about 5 minutes. We're just
I see someone fell off.
And that has been Shine Mawasi.
I see someone fell off.
We're really grateful. An all-female ensemble. Queen, could you just give us a moment of what Shine Mawasi is for our viewing audience, please?
Great day, great evening, great morning, and blessings to the whole entire community. My name is Queen Mother Beverly, and I am honored to be right here in Laverne Park, honoring the spirit of the womb of a woman. This is feminine divine business, and the women have made the way for all life on this planet, so we must honor them, we must cherish them, and we must respect them, because every sentient being, whether it be a plant, an animal, or a live person, is born through a womb. So we want to give thanks and praise for this group that's bringing it to the attention of the entire community. And Shai Mawasi stands for sisters, healing, empowering, nurturing, and we are Mawasi, the voice of God. So we're blessed to be here, and thank you so much for this day in San Jose Square, right here in Little Africa, Los Angeles, California. Peace and riches.
Okay, family, we're moving to the next segment, doing our best to keep this going. And we're hoping that everybody that is viewing knows you're looking at Pan-African Women's Day in Leimert Park. They're getting ready to go on live inside of the studio. And we're ready. And everybody, make sure you say greetings to Sister Queen.
Greetings, sisters. Glad you could connect.
Yeah, it's working out.
Women have made the way for all life on this planet, so we must honor them, we must cherish them, and we must respect them. Because every sentient being, whether it be a plant, an animal, or a live person, is born through a womb. So we want to give thanks and praise for this group that's bringing it to the attention of the entire community. And Shai Mawasi stands for sisters, healing, empowering, nurturing, and we are Mawasi.
All of the scare of the pandemic and realize that if you can sit down at a restaurant and take your mask off, what kind of science is it that we can't come together and come inside for a little while, step in, step out if you need some air, take your mask off.
Okay, amen.
But we're not going to be controlled like that. We're not going to be held back and pushed down. We are liberated people, so we want to welcome liberated people, conscious minds, spirit, and souls who are here to join the All African People's Revolutionary Party and the All African Women's Revolutionary Union and Pan-African Women's Day. As I mentioned outside, this is the 29th year. We started doing it in Los Angeles in 1992, right down the street at the Dublins restaurant. We met some of our sisters, some that are ancestors now, some that are still here. And so we usually do this program at Caras Unity, but because of the slowness of everyone opening up, they weren't ready to open up. So we asked Baba Ben Caldwell if he would allow us to hold this space. And so we want to give thanks and give a hand, a shout, a shame to Brother Billy Caldwell, who, as you can see, supports the image, the presence, the spirit, the goddessness, the revolutionary courage of African women. And so he welcomed us to chaos. And so we give thanks for being here. And we also want to give thanks to those part of our community. We have our speakers that are going to be speaking from South Africa, from Ghana, from Nova Scotia, and we have we videotape if possible, and I don't know if it's going to show, from Haiti, so that we can get ups on what's really happening. So the first part of our program is going to be our speakers on the continent and internationally. And then we're going to have a break for any questions and answers. Then we're going to have our first poet provide that energy and inspiration that we need. And then we'll have our second panel, which will be our representatives that are here, as well as maybe Tia Estela that may be on, and Sister Brenda from the Hands Off Cuba Coalition or Indian Embargo Coalition here, and Partido de la Raza Unida. And if more folks come that are representing our community and our movement, we'll ask them to give a solidarity statement. But we're going to start with our first speaker, which is Sister Sukiswa Kula. Is Sukiswa on?
Hello? Yes,
Zandiswa, excuse me.
Zandiswa,
Yeah.
are you ready?
Am I ready?
Yes.
Yes, I'm ready.
Yes. Hello.
Hello? I'm sorry, sister. I couldn't hear what you were you asking questions, or what would you like me to say?
Well,
Or
actually,
present.
we're going to start with Sister Zandiswa, since she's furthest from us in Azania. And then we would go to Sister Nanette, who is in Ghana. And then we will come to you, Sister Queen Estela. Is that okay?
Okay.
All
Yes,
right?
that is fine. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
All right, welcome, Sister Zandiswa from South Africa. Zania, South Africa.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yes. Hi, Awesome Zuri, and greetings to the sons and daughters of the African soil that side, the local community, and to women who are watching within the continent. Thank you so much for having me today in this program of ours. So I am Zandiswa Kula, right, a member of the Pan-Africanist Organization, and also I form part of the Pan-Africanist Women's Organization, which is the women wing of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania. So it is such a pleasure and an honor to be here today, right? And to witness what you guys are doing that side in celebrating today's Pan-Africanist Women's Day or Pan-African Women's Day. This is where we see the power of solidarity and unity. And we see this within the organizations in which we exist as women who are organizing globally for the total overthrowal of capitalism, imperialism, colonialism, and patriarchy. The rulership of these systems, we know that they are maintained and sustained to oppress, in actual fact, women and children, right? And the theme for today's program is the need for women to lead and to rise and organize. And what we learn from that theme is that it is a clarion call and a necessary call, in actual fact, for women globally to organize for the betterment of the lives of women against exploitation and the negation of the humanhood, in actual fact, of women all around the world. We know that the chaos is instigated, or the chaos that we are currently living under, in actual fact, it is instigated by imperialist masters, right, within the continent and in the diaspora. And this creates unfavorable conditions of living for women and for children. And may this be in Phoenix or in Marikana, right? Where women, in actual fact, have to watch the dead bodies of their children and go and collect the dead bodies of their husbands, of their children, of their partners, of their friends who have been killed by a ruthless government system that uses violence to maintain its order whilst stifling the calls and demands of the oppressed Africans. We also see this happening with the violence that is instigated on women's bodies, may it be through rape or physical or domestic abuse that women have to suffer on a daily basis, and the stats are rising each and every day. Or may this be in Congo or Rwanda or in Nigeria, where there are inward fights, where or inward wars, in actual fact, that are instigated by these imperialist masters. And what happens is that you find that rural women and children are abducted, and they are used as pawns in these internal wars. And we also see this in Libya as well, right? Where women are swimming across the ocean and they die, in actual fact. A huge number of women lose their lives because they are swimming over the ocean there, trying and hoping for a better life, whilst in actual fact, internally within their countries, imperialists are instigating violence and they are undermining the efforts and the abilities of the government there to be able to determine their own sovereignty. We also see this in Cuba as well, right? Where the US decides that they will sanction a whole nation because they want their imperialist agenda to rise beyond the call and the efforts of the people internally there in Cuba. We see this in Afghanistan as well, with the celebrated victory of the Taliban. And we don't ask the question of what is going to happen to the women there? Is this a real victory for the women and the people of Afghanistan? Or is this simply just a replacement or transfer of power, in actual fact, from one imperialist master to a puppeteer, right? Which will result and end in the negation and the limitation of growth and development for women and children, and also an undermining of the abilities of the women and children there. So what today must do for us, and the examples that I'm talking about right now, they must be able to point us to what then is necessary for us to do as women who are standing in solidarity and unity, and revolutionary women who are not satisfied with reforms internally within the countries in which we exist, but women who are interested in real tangible change, right, in the societies in which we live. Meaning that that has to be a looking or a call to say that capitalism cannot be reformed. Capitalism has to be overthrown, right? So how then do we as women, where we are geographically located, how then do we interact as the revolutionary women, for example, who are organizing women within our society who face these strifes on a daily basis? We must be able to learn from women like Ashata Shakura, right? Mamuzondeni Sobukwe, Harriet Timberman. We must be able to learn from these revolutionary women who at a particular time decided that the society that they were living in was oppressing their humanhood, right? And there was an alternative action that had to be met in relation to being able to create a society that is able to understand that they too are humans. So with the women, or the Pan-Africanist women in actual fact, who met in 1962 in Dar es Salaam, right? And these women met with the efforts of leaders like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, right? Who said that it is not enough to talk about liberation and isolate women from participating and forming part of creating a new society and a new social practice, right, within that society. So it was then important that women also forged a way forward in relation to the strifes that they were dealing with as Pan-Africanist women, and also understanding that African people, in actual fact, have been oppressed through the time of independence, and until today, we are still oppressed, in actual fact, as women, but also as Africans, and also as the poor people within the world. So today's program, I hope and I believe that it can be able to assist us to forge a unity as women within the organizations in which we exist, and come up with tangible solutions, concrete solutions that are able to answer at the level at which women are in. We must understand that women are the least organized, in actual fact. When you look at the political demographics in relation to your organizations, and you'll see that they're almost 1 or 2%, in actual fact, of women are politically organized. And now that is a huge task, right? But it's one task that we can't shy away from as women who understand what oppression pushes us to do, right? So thank you so much for having me. And today I just remember the words of Kwame Nkrumah when he says that there is no revolution without women, right? And that it is not a charity case. It is an obligation for women to understand the social conditions in which they live in and respond, right, in a manner or in a meaningful manner that is able to answer to the calls of their antagonisms, but then also be able to allow them to create a new society and a new personhood. And that shall only happen in a society where our humanity will be recognized. So yeah, so I'll end there for now.
Thank you so much, Sister Zendiswa. Technical difficulties in connecting and making the speaker loud enough so that everyone in the room can hear. But I think most of us can hear it quite well. So we want to thank you for your strong and powerful presentation, particularly because our theme this year is Sisters Must Arise or Perish. So the idea is that women must take responsibility and take ownership to become the leaders to guide and direct us to the next phase of our struggle. And that women are over 50% of the population and should be 50% or more of the leadership and leading the direction forward. So we give thanks, Sister Zendiswa, for your presentation. We want to move on to our next speaker, Sister Nanette. So I don't know if we can hear Sister Nanette and see like we had Sister Cheyenne for a minute, but can we hear Sister Nanette?
Right there.
Give us a test.
Give us a test.
Hello, everybody.
Love it.
Sister Nanette, can you give us the perspective on the women and Sister Nanette is a real estate office worker and helps to connect with women in Africa and Ghana, and is working on a project where they are developing shea butter businesses so that women can be economically independent. And so, Sister Nanette, let's talk about the condition of women in Ghana and what work is being done there. What are the conditions that they're suffering under, and what work they are doing to bring themselves up and move themselves forward. Welcome, Sister Nanette.
Hello, everyone. Greetings to everyone from Ghana. It's 10:39 p.m. here, and I just came from a celebration of the Marcus Garvey flag, 101 years down the hill in Oyarifa. So it's great to be able to come and present here as well. So the basis and the tenet of the work that we're doing here in northern Ghana is, if you feed a woman a fish, if you give a woman a fish, you feed her for a day. If you teach her how to fish, you feed her for a lifetime. And that's what we're working on here in the shea industry. So what's happened is in northern Ghana, the shea nut tree, where we get shea butter, we have several uses for shea nut. Over there, we have shea nut trees growing wildly. And so the women have used that to basically create their livelihoods. One of the things that's happened in Ghana specifically, but all throughout Africa as well, the shea nut harvesting is reserved for women. It's not for men at all. And so this is why this is so important to us here. A little bit of background. I had a sister named Eugenia. She's a Ghanaian who's been in in the States for over 30 years. And she came to me and a couple of colleagues and said, listen, we're looking to build more cooperatives of women in northern Ghana to provide shea nut for the business that she's working on. She actually ships tons of shea butter to different companies, also sells shea nuts by the tons to several different companies around the world. And so we were working with the women in 2 villages, specifically in Kurugu and Nasia up north. We sat with the chiefs first and told them what we're looking to do. And once the chiefs were okay with it, then we sat with the women and explained that we're looking to not only support them to harvest shea nut according to world-class standards, but also offering to pay them more than they get paid on the local market. And so that's the project we're working on. Our whole goal is to make sure that the women are strong for themselves and strong for their children. And so that's what we've been working on, because a lot of times the women are responsible for the school fees of their children, et cetera. The men in those communities farm mostly, so they may have one time a year where they reap the harvest, and the rest of the year there's not a lot to do, and so a lot of the responsibility does fall on the women in these areas. The season for shea nut is from April to September, and so the women are currently in the season. Some of the challenges that they've been facing are the fact that the shea nut isn't dried, because we are in the rainy season here right now. And so to overcome that challenge, we're building a prototype now for dryers that will dry the shea nut so they don't get moldy in the rain during this rainy season. So that's one of the projects we're working on currently. Another thing that the women are facing as far as challenges is that a lot of times they are not educated. So when they do go to get the payment for the shea nuts, a lot of times their husbands represent them. But through Sister Eugenia, and this is very important, it's very important that women do set out to build businesses, entrepreneurial businesses, because then they have say in how they work with the women. And so because Sister Eugenia is working with these women, she makes sure that they get paid when they work. And a lot of times the husbands will try and step in, and we know that, mothers are responsible for their children, so the money needs to go in their hands. So Sister Eugenia makes sure that the money goes in their hands to make sure that they're taken care of, as well as their children. So now, one of the things that is happening, the women have currently been in the season, they've been picking the nuts. And what's happened in one of the villages was all gung-ho. They were ready to work with us. They were ready to build the cooperative. They were ready to harvest the shea nut to world standard. The other village had a nonprofit who was working with them and paying them way below market value ahead of time. And so they were coming to us, asking us if we would give them money before they harvested the shea nut. And that's when I spoke to them about whether they wanted to just get a fish or they wanted to learn how to fish. And so our goal is to empower the women to learn how to fish so that they can eat for a lifetime. And we are a business in that sense. And one of the challenges we see throughout Africa is a lot of different countries are offering charity, but that's not really empowering the countries. And in this case, in a microcosm, we're looking to empower the women by teaching them, not just by giving them something where they really don't benefit in the long run. And so that's the conversation I've had with a lot of, with the women in Kurugu specifically. So like I said, the main thing that we're looking for right now is we're making sure that we help the women with dryers so that they can reap more shea nut that they're harvesting, and that a lot of it doesn't go bad. So that's a project we're currently working on now. We're looking to raise $4,000 for the machine, the dryer. And if anyone who's interested, who wants to align with me in this effort, we can give you more information because I only have 3 to 5 minutes. My contact information on Facebook, it's Nanette Bari, Nannette, and last name Bari, B as in boy, Arrie. Again, Nannette, last name Bari, Barrie on Facebook. My email address is the number 4 at Tuahene. So 4 ATUAHENE at gmail.com. Again, the number 4 ATUAHENE at gmail.com. So those are the 2 ways to get in touch with me in case you're interested in finding out more about the projects we're working on here and getting more information and wanting to align yourself with the efforts that we're working on currently. So I thank you all so much for your time. I look forward to working with you, and we're looking forward every year to give progress, to let you know what's happened, to let you know the developments, et cetera, because the work we're doing, we want to make sure that after August 21st, that things are actually being done and we're not just talking, we're actually doing, we're actually evolving, we're actually making strides, and we can see it, because I think when that happens, we're able to build and work better together. So again, thank you for your time, and any questions you have, I'm available.
Thank you. Can we give a hand to Sister? A part of our planning committee. I have met Sister Nanette at the Ghana Association of Southern California at a picnic there. And we began communicating, and I asked her if she would be a part of our planning for this event. So even though she knew she was going to be in Ghana, we thought it was more powerful her being in Ghana so she can talk about exactly what is happening there, the work that's being done, and how we can support that work. So if you're interested in, don't forget to sign up at our sign up table and let us know what you're willing to do, how you're willing to help. We also have evaluation sheets in your seat. So please help us evaluate this program so that we can do better. And so now we want to welcome our sister Cheyenne and Amanda, if they are available.
Hello?
Can Cheyenne speak now?
Of course.
Okay, so we're going to welcome Sister Cheyenne and I believe Sister Amanda. And they are in Nova Scotia area, representing the struggles in that region. Sister Cheyenne is with the All African People's Revolutionary Party, and she has invited Amanda to be a part of this discussion to talk about the conditions of indigenous people in the region. I don't know if many of you heard about the that were found have been buried in these colonial schools, and they found the bodies of these children, and the community has been in an uproar and been organizing around that. But this is what the colonizer has been doing for hundreds of years. So we want to welcome you both to Pan-African Women's Day. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having us. Hello, greetings everybody. I'm Cheyenne Jones. This is Amanda. It's such a privileged to be here along with all of you that are in the United States, all around the world, that are on the continent. I'm an organizer with the All African People Revolutionary Party since about 2019. And when we were talking about bringing on revolutionary women from Canada, I instantly thought of my sister, friend, and comrade, Amanda. She is very active here in Nova Scotia, and she is a firm organizer against capitalism, colonialism, and stands firm on Indigenous rights. And I'm so happy to be able to introduce her to all of you today.
Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Amanda. I am from the Tsokazko and Kwakatus Nations. And I live as a guest on unceded and unsurrendered Mi'kmaq territory. Thank you for having me in your event. It's really appreciated. I appreciate this opportunity to bring awareness to Indigenous issues here and also across Turtle Island. I guess one thing that I should start with is barriers for women is the way that the colonial governments have started and continued to erase our families. They start by apprehending our children and putting them in government care. So if you look at Canadian statistics across provinces, our children are apprehended anywhere from 60 to 100% of the children in care. And we only represent 7% of the Canadian overall population. Then they target our men, they target our women, and we represent anywhere from 40 to 80% of people imprisoned. So they really deteriorate our families. And this started when they came here and began to colonize us. And they saw that women are matriarchs and we are the backbone of our society. So they stole our women and they continue to steal our women. We have missing and murdered women, over 5,000 missing and murdered women. And then they started residential schools. As you know, it's become something that's in the news a lot lately. They discovered 215 babies in the Kamloops residential school yard. And they continue to discover isn't really the right word, because our survivors said that those children exist in those yards. They've recalled those experiences and shared that knowledge with us. So it's less of a discovery and it's more of a exhuming of the truth. And when we look at the barriers to organizing, we are constantly having to process grief. And our elders are having to process the grief and traumas of their experience in residential schools. And after residential schools, they introduced scooping children in the 60s scoop. And now here we are in 2021 and we're experiencing the millennial scoop. So as matriarchs, and myself as a two-spirit person, my pronouns are he, him, and she, her. We are constantly under surveillance and under threat of having our children taken from us. So these are some of the systemic barriers we face. And then when we look at the reasons why they come after us, and it has always been, and it is still to this day, to do with land, right? As long as they have control of the women and the children and the two-spirit people, they have control over the land. And you see that it's women and two-spirit and non-binary people that are on the front lines defending the land and the water. Here in Mi'kmaq, we have Stop Alton Gas, which is a fracking organization trying to take over unceded territory to frack these lands. And when they bring in these resource extraction companies, they ultimately bring in man camps. And these man camps are a direct result of our women going missing and murdered and being trafficked. And so there are people here, when we look at organization and organizational structures, that's often very colonial. And so what we have in amongst Indigenous people is what is termed as grassroots organizing. We come together, we support each other in ceremony and in traditional ways of honoring our ancestors and honoring our elders and listening to them and our war chiefs and our peace chiefs as to how to take on these big extraction companies. And so in Mi'kmaq, there is a truck house set up for trade in the areas where they want to have gas containers. And it's the truck house that's the defense, because it's tradition, and it's written in treaty that the Mi'kmaq people are allowed to trade wherever they set up a truck house. And so what we've seen across Mi'kma'ki is more truck houses being set up for trade. And then when you look across Canada into British Columbia, we have tiny house warriors that are set up to stop pipelines being driven through traditional territories. Further onto the island, we have the Ferry Creek blockade, and they are stopping old growth logging because we are in climate crisis. British Columbia has over 200 wildfires happening, and they're trying to take down old growth logging in unceded territory. And it's women, children, non-binary, two-spirit people who are defending the land and the water and trying to prevent climate crisis. Meanwhile, we're looking for our missing and murdered women. We are grieving our men who are in prison, our sisters who are in prison, our children who are in care. And I am an urban Indigenous person. And so a lot of the work I do is around supporting people in the urban setting and directly related to police abolition, because Indigenous and Black people in the urban population are frequently targeted by police. And we have a housing crisis happening here. So if we can abolish the police, we can have the funds available to us to fund housing, to fund services for families, to fund services for addictions, to fund services for healthcare. All of these things that we are struggling with, we can fund if we get rid of these gratuitous budgets that are allotted to police. So police abolition is a huge part of the work that I do. And there isn't a colonial structure to that organization. It is grassroots people coming together, looking at those before us. Elle Jones, Robin Maynard, people who have been actively discussing police abolition for years, and trying to take their models, learn from their models, replicate their models, and improve upon their models for 21st century issues, right? We have the internet, which can help and hinder our issues. And when we look at doing police abolition work, we're also embedded and having to do mutual aid work because people get arrested. We need to take care of their legal fees. We have people who are street entrenched who need to be taken care of. And as we're having a housing crisis, which is largely affecting Indigenous and Black parents in this setting where we live, I'm constantly getting requests because they're having their power cut off. They are about to be evicted. And so we are taking care of each other at a grassroots and community level and bringing out these funds to support each other through these crises. But if we abolish the police, the government could do what they're expected to do. So yeah, when it's like, where's the help? The help is on the front lines. It's Stop Line 3, Stop Halton Gas, Tiny House Warriors. And it's in finding the people who are doing the grass work and putting money in their pockets so that they can be effective in their jobs, effective in what they do. But be it that we need to do more first aid training or more training of people to do de-arrests, these kind of things. People need skill sets, and ultimately we're always just looking for money and mutual aid.
Thank you so much. Can we give Amanda a hand? We know that we cannot abolish the police until we abolish capitalism. We have to abolish colonialism. We have to abolish imperialism because they are here and established to protect the world. And so we stand with you. We stand with the Indigenous peoples. And again, thank you for joining us for Pan-African Women's Day. Let's continue to connect and strategize for the destruction of capitalism and imperialism so that we can all live as free people throughout the world. So thank you again. Give a hand.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
To us as well. Give thanks. So our next and last speaker on the Zoom is our Tia Estela, so that we don't hold her up. Estela Ayala is a community organizer and activist, and she is with El Partido de la Raza Unida, one of our local coalitions that has been with us for decades. And they organize in the community, the liberation of Aslan, the liberation of our people. And so we want to ask just for a quick solidarity statement, Auntie Estela, on the importance of Chicano, Mexicano people, indigenous people fighting for their freedom, for women standing strong and fighting for their liberation. Thank you. Let's give a hand to Sister Estela.
Well, hello, everybody. Hello, all my sisters from Africa, from Guyana, from the girls that were from here and defending the Native American rights and all the good work that you guys are doing all around. I am Estela Ayala. I belong to La Raza Unida Party. I'm a longtime Chicana activist. I understand that that women all around the world struggle, but I can only speak for my struggle here in the United States. And here in the United States, we as women of color, we as working women, we as women, period, have that triple challenge. And I'm sure the women all around the world have that triple challenge as well. We believe that, yes, it's capitalism, it's the system, it's the government that we live under that keeps us oppressed. And it's not an accident, and it's not something that just happens, that it's the people of color that are oppressed. We have been, and will continue to be if we don't rise to be the labor force, the slave force of this country. We are the workforce. We move this country. We move this country for the rich, and the rich are almost always white. In any case, my organizing experience here in Aztlán. Aztlán is the territory that the United States took from Mexico. It's 7 states that they took alongside the border, and we, La Raza Unida Party, believe that that we will someday reclaim Aztlán, and one day we will have auto-determination for the Chicano nation. We will determine our own destiny. We do not want to be controlled, governed, or under the capitalistic United States of America that we know who they are and what they've done. We have been organizing for a long time. When we lost our land, it was 1848. We came out as Pachucos in the 1940s, and in the 1960s, we called ourselves Chicanos. And so we are the Chicano movement. And right now we feel honored that we have been here, and we're upholding our flag of Aztlán, and we're upholding our principles, because we get attacks. Many times I've felt like we live in the belly of the beast, and we're always fighting. But our raza, our people, is always fighting. As women, we're always fighting. It's almost like a second nature for us. We've gotten accustomed to doing this, and we're tough. We're tough, and we go forward, and we know what we want. We want to organize. We want to be educated. We want to be part of study groups. We want to be part of the La Raza Unida politics that we stand by. And we always want to include all our sisters of color. We always want to include our brothers alongside, because we're a raza, we're a people. And while we get, that extra attack for being brown women, we know that our brown men get attacked. So I think that we need to educate ourselves. We need to be conscious of who's doing the criticism, and if we believe that criticism, of who is systematically telling us how to think, what to do, where to work, and all those things that we're governed over. We have to be conscious. We just have to be conscious. We have to make sure that the next generation, and I'm talking grandchildren, because I have grandchildren now, I understand, boys and girls, little boys and little girls, understand our struggle, never forget their history, and stand up for what's right, always. With that, I say goodbye. Thank you, sisters. Thank you. It's such an honor and a privilege. Thank you, Missouri.
One more hand for Sister Estela. Thank you again for joining us for Pan-African Women's Day, as we have in the past. So we want to, at this point, take a quick break for some poetry inspiration. So we want to, if there are any questions that any of you have for the guests before we take our break, are there any questions to any of the guests that are still on? Because I think they pretty much answered or talked a lot about what is happening in movement. So there are no questions for you. Thank you all for joining us on Zoom. So we're going to take a quick break, and we want to bring forth our sister Jahab, who is a well-known poet, artist, writer, painter, you know, a 360-degree warrior woman, as we say. And we're so glad to have her speaking at Pan-African Women's Day for the first time. I've known her for many, many, many years. So we want to thank her for joining us and lending her powerful voice. So Sister Jahab, join us.
Cannot spell revolution without women. Cannot call it forth. You cannot keep it moving. There is no revolution without women. Grown and fire women, seasoned and ready. Girls don't come grown as me, not girls. Not me, not these hips, aged woman, wise, bashed, courage, red. Do you smell the sage, Sister Harriet, Sister Octavia? To be Black and woman and grown is to be resilient. It is to be witch. You see which witch I am. Do you know which witch you are? Do you see these fingers cast spells? Do you feel the water wet between your nipples? Sister Tony, Sister Ryder, to be grown and woman is to conjure. It is to know. It is to believe. It is to forever. Do you know the angels that fly in the clouds? Do you know Oshun? Have you seen me dance? Can you dance? Can you dance? Does your belly wiggle? Does your belly wiggle? Can you wave hand? Can you hold heart? Do you know the lives I have saved with my words, with these words, with God's words? Does God open your mouth and speak through you? Do you know the lives I have saved with my feet? With my jelly and grits and biscuits? Do you know? Do you hear the babies cry? Are you a healer? I know you are a healer, Sister Poets. Do you see the sun? Can you look into his eyes? Are you healers? Are you brave? Ladies, are you brave? Are you revolution? Are you brave women? Do you know Obatala? Do you know the heavens? Does tomorrow speak to you? Do you know the power of your own spit? Do you know Jesus died for you? Sister Vashti, Sister Mary, Sister Magdalene, Sister, are you a seer? I know you are a seer. Are you a speaker? Do you touch lives? Does God reveal herself to you? Does God sit himself on your sofa? Did you feel Jesus weep? Did you wrap yourself in his tears? Sister Preacher, Sister Ocean, Sister Moon, Sister Sky, are you grown? Are you ready? Do you know what it is to be grown and ready? Do you know what it is to love? Do you know your own smell? Your own smell? Are you afraid to love yourself? Do you know what you feel like? Do you know how you love? Do you know your own breasts? Do you know your own legs and thighs? Do you know? Do you know? Can you look into your eyes without a mirror? Can you dance without a partner? Do you know what it is to sing? Can you sing without a bass? Are you brave? Ladies, are you brave and ready for this revolution, for this fight, for these guns? Do you know what it is to glide, to feed a family on $1.99? Are you ready? Sister Angela, Sister Bold Fist in Air, Sister Song, Sister Poet. Do you know what it is like to be loved except by your own self, except from your own self, except from your own black skin? Sister Model, Sister Dancer, do you know Ogun? Do you know the color red? Can you hear Shango and the thunder? Do you know, ladies, are you careful? Are you brave? Are you ready? Do you know the secrets grown women know? Sister Secretary, Sister Basketball Player, Sister Educator, Sister Judge, Sister Poet, Sister Preacher, Sister Cook, Sister You, Sister You, Sister You. I know we eye each other in the market aisle. Sister Mother, Sister Daughter, Sister Sister Niece. You know we know the revolution. How you gonna spell revolution without love, without revolt? How you gonna spell revolution without us? Woo! Fire! How are we gonna spell? And one of the important things about this theme is to talk about that we can't spell revolution without us. That we can't have no revolution when half the people in the revolution is put back in the kitchen, are told that they just need to be barefoot and pregnant, are told that they can't carry a gun or carry a strong voice or have a strong thought or can direct and lead a strong army, when in fact we had an example. We had a Santawa, we had exceptions. We had commanders on the front line in Cuba, in Venezuela, in Chile, in Nicaragua, throughout Africa. African women were the first throughout any continent that were armed in their women's wings and in their military wings to fight against the Portuguese, armed. And so we can't see victory as a people unless we see a whole people in that struggle. And so that's why the theme, Sisters Arise or Perish, is so important, because in fact, it is our responsibility as over half the population to be fully involved in every aspect of the struggle, in every aspect of our liberation. There will be no more raping and kidnapping us, because we will be the ones over those in policing and providing the direction and punishing and providing the laws and giving direction, educating our sons and our uncles and our fathers and our daughters to be self-defense thinking and to be defensive in protecting each other as a whole nation. And so it's so important that we take this seriously. So we want to thank you, Jahar, because you really always make it clear and make it plain, you know, so we can see ourselves and so brothers can see themselves. Because as we say, we're not raping ourselves, we're not kidnapping ourselves. But there's a system in place, a colonizing system in its place that is telling us that the female is not worth anything, that the male only can show their prowess by doing these vital things, and they measure their worth in that thing. This is the colonizers' attacks to colonization. This is what they call assimilation. This is what they call acculturation. This is how they wrap you in their patriotism and tell you, you want to be a good American, you need to do this. If you want to be a man, you need to be about this. You need to be down in your girls, down in your woman, disrespecting them, not listening to them, not listening to yourself when you know you're wrong. Saying the cry is female, when we all need to be crying with what's happening to us in our community. When we see the homelessness and the houselessness and the lack of health care and the lack of protection and care and concern, there's no humanity in this capitalism. There's no humanity. So I want to thank you so much for those powerful words. Give thanks. Take a look at our table if you're interested in learning more about the All-African People's Revolutionary Party. There's more information on the table. There are some books. There's some books from our comrade, Brother John Umi. And how much of your books are organizing in the community?
$10 for the LA area party organizer.
$10 for the LA area. This is on how to organize your community. When you want a revolutionary community, a community that defends and provides for itself. And we also have books on the table and t-shirts from our artists, from Nikki B. And we want to make sure that you also support those as well. So give thanks. So I don't know if you're ready to show the film, the video from Sister Azili.
Yep.
So we have some voices. I don't know if y'all knew that last week that 7.2 magnitude earthquake targeted Haiti. And our people are once again purposely attacked in an attempt to destroy it. But they've been trying to destroy us ever since they stole us, right? So we want to listen to this tape by Sister Azili Danto, who is a lawyer, warrior, organizer, and doing the work that needs to be done. Thank you.
We're gonna make this work. It's going to work. Thanks. I needed to hear that.
That's a good place to just start very quickly and say that in the last 2 months, about 18,000 Haitians have been displaced, poor Haitians. We've had a very strong sister. Her name is Antoinette Duclair. She's a human rights activist, and she was in Haiti, and they killed her on June 29th, along with 15 other people. So for me, this idea that the killing of this man is that important when he's been part of massacres that the world hasn't cared about. CARICOM, UN, and the whole entire international community has been trying to force us to go to election with an unelected man who has been massacring us in droves. So now that his own party and his own people has killed him, everybody wants to talk to IHC. Well, I want to tell you that there are some very, very poor, unknown people that have been dying fighting this struggle, fighting this liberation struggle. Nobody has cared, especially not the United States, especially not the media. They hired gangs. He hired gangs, and he thought he was safe from his own oligarchy. So it's very difficult for us who have shouldered this burden of the constant death of our warriors to really care what the universe thinks right now. We certainly didn't do it. Haitian people have been peacefully saying that the United States of America hires criminals, and they have dossiers on those criminals. They make them president, they make them prime minister, they make them senators. And it is those people who, because they have DEA dossiers and because they have cases that the United States can pull and do whatever they want on, and they can sign in our name to take our lands, our resources, and then kill us when we protest, and nobody cares. So today his own people killed him, right? So what I say is that, I mean, the struggle goes on. It's going on in the UK for Black people. It's going on in St. Martin, St. Kitts, everywhere. We have to tell our own stories. And so we're telling our stories. We've always been telling our stories. And Sister Sharenza is one of the people that constantly stays abreast of what's going on. And I want everybody to know that she has been a warrior for us forever, like forever. When people say things like, you know, the Free Haiti movement doesn't exist. She says it does. She's like, where is Esli Dantal? She is the first one to do that. My own people don't do that. So I would like to just take this opportunity and this time to thank her for her constant blessings, finding out if I'm alive, finding out how I'm doing. Because like I said, they kill us. And there's nobody there when they killed Antoinette Duclair. They shot her in the head on the 29th. And remember, she was helping those who were displaced by these gang members that have weapons that Haitians don't manufacture. So the United States is shocked right now. CARICOM is shocked right now. Really? What did the Haitians tell you? We told you all these people had DEA indictments. And what just happened? When these mercenaries came in, there were Haitian cards on the outside. And all they had to say is, this is the DEA. And they all know they have dossiers. So they dropped their guns. That wasn't the DEA. And they went in and killed the president. So it's all the international communities are accountable for this constant humiliation that we have to deal with. I don't really have much to say except to say that you can see Dr. Mahat's interview for those that are looking to find out what's going on. I know that Dr. Sharon Zira just told you the real details. I trust her I mean, all of us can speak on behalf of Haiti, not just, you know, Haitien. You are all descendants of Jean-Jacques Dessalines. This is what the United States is so scared of. Haiti's the linchpin of the balance of power. I've been saying it all morning, all day. They will destroy and kill all of us because they know the domino effect that will happen when Haitians take control of their country. So they marginalize our hand because we're between, as everybody knows, Cuba's right there, Venezuela, and then we have all these resources. Even Russia doesn't want to help us, though they will help the mulattoes in Venezuela and Cuba. They're not going to help us. You know why? Because they know when Haiti's free, Africa's free. Africa's free, the world changes. So this is why we pay this price. August is coming. Wakaima is here. Dantal is here. They can't do anything about nature. They cannot do anything about nature. And the ancestors have heard and the vibrations are here. I promise you, summer of 2021 is going to be very hot.
You want to fill in a little bit about what the currently what's going on in Haiti?
Sure. As soon as I multitask. Sisters, arise or perish. So what we just heard from our sister in struggle is the Danto, and persons that aren't familiar, just Google EZILIDANTO, and the websites will populate Facebook, Twitter, stumble upon YouTube, etc. to get like first-hand information of what's happening in IT. And this is coming from someone that has familial ties, grew up in the Ghana. So I just like to make sure that, yes, I know I'm African, just the birthplace is a little bit different. Yeah. We don't see the separation. It's very important that we acknowledge that. And Sister Queen has put it on the table of what has transpired in Haiti. The type of things that she did not, because that was an excerpt from a radio broadcast that we did called Building Legacy. And Building Legacy, the co-host is Sister Dr. Sandra Richards, who is part of the African Queen Mother Warriors movement that is literally around the globe alongside organizations like the All African People's Revolutionary Party, the All African Women's Revolutionary Union, and those that are progressive to support them. Haiti is under siege, has been under siege since 1804, probably even
for that actual liberation. The fact that there is an African nation in the Americas, corrected, regions, these indigenous regions, there has been an effort to dismantle anything, any form of upliftment in Haiti. How dare those Africans demand their freedom and acquire it? How dare they? That's the type of vibration that keeps going on. So that's why people get a little sensitive, because the US has a history that we all in this room are clear on. So I know this is the choir. Yeah, same note. We know it's the same note, and we know what's going on here. But throughout the areas in the Caribbean, places like Haiti have been just dismantled. They have thrust so much negativity, so many hardships. Let's go to the environmental piece. How come everybody else can have all kinds of fresh air, water, environmental consciousness, whatever, and you're gonna frack, dig up inside the bottom of the sea, right outside the country that you know is on a fault. You know there's a tectonic plate that got a split. You know if you frack there, there's gonna be a problem. We'll go back to energy. You know if you frack there, is going to be a problem, but you're gonna still continue to do something. Haiti alone has dozens upon dozens of mines because of the resources that are there. Yet the people are impoverished. So I like to go to what Sister Queen and Zori said. Nothing's gonna change until capitalism is completely eradicated. Like completely eradicated. Of information around what is taking place, the type of efforts that are being done to replace the leadership. You know, the previous leadership, you know, a lot of persons like, oh wow, how come another African, you know, is assassinated? Had he not been involved in that type of activity and massacring thousands of people, let's understand that, thousands of men, women, and children. And this country's leadership knew. The European leadership knew and financed it and sent mercenaries. So when you hear sisters like our comrade Izzy Gunto say that the international nations are responsible, that's another layer of the same type of oppression, the same type of capitalist engagement and imperialist engagement that all of us are very familiar with, whether it's in the 48 contiguous US, Canada, the entire Americas. When we say America, we mean from the North Pole to the South Pole. We don't just limit it to like one section, because that's why it's called America's tour, right? Geography class, we're good, we're good, we're good. So with that, I'm going to return this piece to you, and if you like, you can go to whoever's here to share. Solidarity. If you have other questions,
Before we go to, we're going to ask Sister Brenda to come up and talk about what is happening with women in Cuba and why it is so important for us to support Cuba. But before we do that, are there any questions to Dr. Chin about what's going on in Haiti, what the response is, what's happening on the ground, any of that?
If you want to make contributions though, those links are readily available. I don't need you to give money to me. I need it to go to the people that it's going to get to the people, right? Because we know the history, and we know about the last $4 billion that didn't get to the people. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So thank you, Dr. Chin. One more hand for Dr. Chin. Noble cadre out of the Virgin Islands. So I want to welcome Sister Brenda. I've known her just a short time as I've been working with the coalition, but she is so grounded and so committed. She's taken several tours to Cuba. She's speaking wherever she's asked to speak, go and leading, and you know, there's constant organizing to support Cuba, and it's very important. But we really want to focus on what are the conditions of women in Cuba under an embargo that has lasted since its independence, and
why we should support Cuba and what are the wonderful things that Cuba has been doing. So let's welcome Sister Brenda Lopez.
Thank you, Sister Missouri, and everyone for being here, lending the space, your time, and energy. It's very much appreciated. It's a beautiful event. Been smiling all throughout. It's empowering to see women, have events, make these safe spaces for themselves, and make them beautiful. And when I got to go to Cuba in the summer of 2019, I got to witness that there too. I participated in an environmental conference. It was an international conference with people from all over the place. But it was really empowering to see, to have these speakers and have most of them be women of color, women who are proud to speak, women who are intelligent or happy to share their information, what they know. And not only that, going to Cuba and witnessing the effect that the embargo and the blockade has on them, because it's been happening for 60 years now. All these women, sisters, and children that have been born to this blockade, basically this claw, imperialist claw that the U.S. has on them, all because of their revolutionary views. And I'm not a Cuban, and I'm not a Cuban American, I'm Mexican American, but it was very empowering to go to a place and really see the difference. Free education, free housing, they have free food, and and it shows in the way that people relate to each other, how they interact with each other, how they treat their elders, how they treat their children, how they treat their health, because everyone also has free health care. And coming back and seeing all the homeless people we have, all the issues we are dealing with, and being, the richest country, it's bullshit, excuse my words, but it's fake. And being able to go to another country and really see an alternative that's living even with this huge imperialist planet was really, really inspiring. And so upon coming back, me and some of the other youth that went, we started a committee to educate American people about it, because we didn't even know about it, the US just we lose money from this, a lot of money, and we spend all this money making people suffer all because of their views. Of reality, if socialism didn't work, take off the blockade, but they know it works, and that's why they're afraid. About it, because so many people don't know about it. Educate them, do something about it, end the blockade, because it's been 6 years too long. People are suffering. Conditions have only gotten harsher during COVID, and we need to help them out. We need to help our sisters out, and to help the children out, and help them educate the rest of the world on what the great benefits that evolution can bring to them. So, Cuba sí, bloqueo no.
And I think what you said was so telling. Everywhere people that rise up to liberate themselves, America makes it their job to try to destroy them. Haiti, since 1804, they have had a non-stop program to occupy and destroy, to implant the leadership. When the Americans approve your leader, you know your leader is corrupt. You know your leader is in the pocket of American imperialism. Okay, so yes, get ahead. So we can't accept any leader that has their hands shaking hands or doing deals with America. But just if we rise up, we become the enemy, the target of American capitalism and imperialism, who wants to quash any sign of freedom and liberation. And people are meant to be free. And so people gonna rise up, and especially indigenous people, African people, indigenous people throughout the territories are rising up and will continue to rise up. And we will never, ever be stopped. So we want to thank you. Continue the work. I'm so inspired. Sometimes at 8 o'clock when those Zoom calls go on, I'm like, I can't hang, Brenda. It's Sunday. But they are so inspiring that the work that they're doing, and the caravan we had at the end of July was so powerful, going through our own communities was so important that we let our own people know, hey, we're going through our community and we love Cuba. We want this embargo to stop. What Cuba is doing is good. Socialism is good. That's what we need to do. We need to stand up, and women need to play more leading roles like our young sister Brenda is doing. We need more of our young people. We need to encourage them, support them, and stand alongside of them. So we give thanks, give another hand to us. I want to offer my nephew, Ernesto Ayala, with the Partido de la Unidad, thank you for coming, for being a brave one. Whatever science, you can eat in the restaurant and take your mask off, and thousands can go to, stadiums and stuff, but don't you revolutionary people get together, hide, stay under the mattresses, So we thank all of you for being the brave ones, for coming out and at least reinvigorating each other and inspiring each other to continue to work, because that's what this is about. We live off of that. We feed off of each other, inspiring each other. Like the words of Jihad, that kind of inspiration, the words of our sisters, that is the inspiration we need. So give us just short, inspirational family, our family of El Partido de la, like I said, I've been knowing Ernesto and the Ayala family in El Partido de la for a very, very long decades. So thank you. There we go. There we go. Human.
Sisters, brothers, I'll be brief, because it's a Women's Day event, but I feel very honored, because like my auntie said, I grew up coming to these events, to Pan-African Women's Day, African Liberation Day, so it's a part of what I am, and I think as a child, what that taught me, and being a member of La Raza Unida growing up in the Partido de La Raza Unida, it taught me that we have more in common, way more in common as indigenous people and African people than they ever let us know in school, TV, media, anything. I think one of the important things to know, and it's just part of what our history together, our collective history here as colonized people in this part of the world. I'm not even talking about Mexico or anything else. I'm talking about this part of the world. Is that in this part of the world, we rose up against Spain and we ousted Spain. We met them on the battlefield. We fought them off, and in every single case of Africans and indigenous people engaging their colonizer in wars of liberation, who was there? Our sisters were there. Our sisters were there, holding the spear, holding the rifle, holding the machete, the sword, whatever they could get their hands on to fight off the colonizer. And I think that's important because that's a part of the history of this land right here, that they never teach us. One of the things, let's go back into our history. When Africans were being brought over as slaves to this land, they would escape to the indigenous tribes. And the indigenous tribes would welcome them as family members and would defend them as family members. When this was still part of Mexico, guess what? Slavery was abolished way before it was ever abolished on the other side, where it was already the United States. Why? Because we had been slaves. Those missions that we see around here were built by brown hands, brown indigenous hands, enslaved by Spain, were built by Africans, enslaved by Spain. So we said, no, slavery will never touch our land again. So we abolished it. It was abolished. A lot of Africans would come over here, running from the terror that was forced on them in the Southeast, over there in the Confederacy in America and all that. They would come over here. And eventually, a lot of Africans fought and died with us on the battlefield against the United States. So I think that's important. That's the history of this land that we never learn about. And again, in every one of those battles, in every one of those revolutions and rebellions up to today, up to the historic rebellions we had last year, was Africans and indigenous people united. And women were there. Women bled with us. Women died with us. Because like was said, the women hold up half the sky, as the famous slogan. And that's true, so I find this very beautiful, again, and I wish I could have brought my daughter. And I actually come in place of our other sisters in the partido that couldn't make it because they had personal things to deal with. But again, it's an honor to be here. Thank you, and la lucha continúa.
Powerful, right? Yes. That's my nephew. I was just thinking because I had this flashback of one of the conferences that I spoke at. My son Sabuque was maybe about 3 or whatever, and he's just a couple of years, and you can see the bigger kid trying to hold the other kid, and you can see them because I would like take them, and you guys go play. Well, I get on the stage, and they would take them and him and Libertad. And they would go, and they could barely carry him. Why did they carry? He can walk. I don't know. But it was just so beautiful to have this kind of family, and my indigenous family has been my indigenous family that allowed me to make my first trip to Africa. And I went representing the indigenous family and the All African People's Revolutionary Party. So it's that kind of solidarity that is hundreds of years old, that is what going to make us victorious. Only in unity. We can't do this separated. And that's why women have to play their role too. We can't do this struggle as separate gender. Even this fight against gender. I had a little chat, I was telling you how I was on the chat, and I saw someone talking about, the gender struggle, and they're trying to create all of these gender to, reduce our population or whatever. And I was like, is that why Boko Haram keeps kidnapping their own daughters and girls? Right. Is it why our own brothers supposedly kidnap and kill us, create war camps, create sex camps, and create all these border wars? And borders were created by the European. They created these borders in the Berlin Conference in 1885 and 1886. They spent 75 days plotting out and outlining the division of Africa. And we can't come and spend a day to talk about our unity and our liberation. That's the kind of work we have to do. So I asked my brothers, who is responsible for our raping and our killing in our own country, in our own village? We are. And so we have to take responsibility. We have to take responsibility. And as Cabral says, really the problem is all of us, right? That we're not doing what we're supposed to do, not us in the room, but those that will not listen. And Cabral says, because here's the deal, rice cooks in the pot. That's where the real action is. So we need to start cooking our rice in the pot and dealing with what's happening in our collective pot and taking responsibility as a people. And so, we're very encouraged because you're still young. So my nephew, so young people doing this work. So we're very inspired, and we want to continue to build this kind of unity. I want to invite my sister Nana. I have to do this briefly, and I'm so happy she was able to come out. And we do remember this is Black August, right? This is Black August, and so Nana and I and Baba G2 are part of Black August Los Angeles, and today is the day of the assassination of George Jackson, right? So we're going to honor George Jackson and talk about the revolutionary work that we need to continue, and that's going to happen on the program tonight at 6 o'clock. Can we zoom in on Black August LA? So we'll have a number of guests that are part of the movement to liberate our political prisoners. And let's not really get it misunderstood. We are prisoners outside of the wall, and then there are prisoners behind the wall.
So there really is no division, so that's why we continue to be a part of this movement. But I know Sister Nana and I worked even before Black Caucus together, so she's doing some very powerful work with our sisters and for our sisters and brothers dealing with so-called immigrants. You know, whereas when white folks come, they get to be citizens and all kind of privileges, but we just immigrants. So Sister Nana, can you just share a few words of solidarity and talk about the work you're doing? Sister Nana Jumfrey, thank you, everyone.
Missouri, I'm gonna be there and I don't need to speak. And I'm gonna sit in the back and I'm gonna enjoy. But I still enjoy talking. Thank you so very much. As we all know, that was a double joke. And now I won't shut up, but I'm gonna be short. Thank you so very much, sister. Thank you for the energy from the islands. We really appreciate that. Appreciate it. So yes, I work with an organization. I'm the executive director of an organization called the Black Alliance for Just Immigration. It is the largest immigrant rights, racial justice, revolutionary organization in the country. And when I was listening to all that folks were saying, I was thinking about all the sisters who are involved, not just in this country, but everywhere that we are outside of home, pushing, pressing, leading in the work against oppression, leading in the work against capitalism, leading in the work against imperialism. We don't have to dust people off, look for folks and be like, oh, we need a woman. No, right there on the front lines, already doing the work. And it's important, it's critical that we not only recognize the work that's being done by sisters who are given leadership or put in leadership or who have attained leadership, but the sisters who are just resisting. And so, as you were speaking, brother, I was thinking about who is coming across the southern border that they're so traumatized by. If you ask the average person, they'll say it was the Mexicans. And in their brain, they think of like white Latinx people. But who is coming across are the indigenous, the African from the continent and the African from Cuba. And so you can come here on a plane, you can come here by boat, you can come here at any, but do not come across that southern border because they know who's coming across that southern border, and it's us. And I don't know if you heard about the census, but they big mad, big white tears about the fact that their population grew by 0.6%. That is, but they got to count every drop. And we just ballooned. But it's important, as joyful as that is, for us to remember that they will rule by minority rule in a second. They don't, you know what I mean? We know that because they've been doing that. And so we can't sleep. Like some people I hear are super excited. Oh yes, as soon as we get more of our folks in and we produce more of our people, then all will be well. No, there'll be 3 of them. And they will try to figure out through the pen and through the sword how to run us and rule us all. And so, sisters, it's so important that we continue to rise up. We are rising, we are risen, and that we continue to rise up because the work is not done. And uniting, Sister Bertha pointed out, we're not going to do it by ourselves. We certainly need to get ourselves together. And we need to unite with our sisters in all of our communities. Last piece I want to say, because I was taught something today, it was the sister who didn't run at the Olympics, the sister with the orange hair. She had a tweet and she said, I love Black no matter what nation. If you watched or saw social media around the Olympics, it was trying to pit different African people against each other. Oh, be angry because the African women in Jamaica have defeated the African women in Britain, have defeated the African women, right? And we're supposed to be upset. And I think it was, I saw a meme that was like Africa, and it had all of the African people, how many medals we won. Right? And that's how we have to think. And I was so pleased to see that sister saying that it's something that's in us that understands that we are one, that pushes back against the division. And so, sisters, let's continue to rise up on behalf of our people everywhere until capitalism, imperialism is dead and gone underneath our feet. Thank you.
And let me just add a little something on to that. We have to make sure that every one of us is in organization. Because it's good for us to connect, but if we're not organized and strategic like they are, it's only through organization can a minority rule. We have to be organized. We can't just have that new thing that we got and we connect. Because I always tell people I could be in London somewhere, just dropped off, and I'm walking down the street and I see a sister or brother, we giving ourselves that head, that nod. Anywhere in the world I go, man, how you doing, sister? Don't even know me. Anywhere in the world. But we are less than 2% of us in organization. So if you're not in an organization, get in an organization that is doing something for the liberation of our people. If you are interested in the All African People's Revolutionary Party, we have a sign-up table right there at the door. I have my own card there. You can call me, you can email me, and let's talk about connecting our organizations. If we're not already connected, we need to unite, for sure. So I'm gonna invite Sister Nikki to come for us and give us some inspiration, and then we're gonna have a special treat with the Queens, and just have a closing special inspirational treat with the Queens of the Virgin Islands. But we're gonna welcome Nikki B, powerful speaker.
Being here and sharing the space. This is the second event that I get to speak at today, all in the interest of uplifting women. So coming from a lineage of not only women, of course, but organizers, I want to see, I'm already putting out there that next year we'll see many more young women. Yeah, that's right. Many more. So everybody that's in here next year, bring a young woman. Bring two. Bring three, because we need to invest for the next generation. And with that, sisters, love and embrace yourself. Be the light you walk in. It needs to shine through to be manifested in things you say and do. Purify your mind, your body, your soul. Let love and righteousness control. Consider this. Bathe in a river of love and peace. Scrub the indoctrination of self-hate and lies from your heads. Sisters, snatch the decaying mane of synthetic hair from your scalp to set free. Centuries of wisdom locked in the coils of your soft throat. Cleanse your orifices of the lies, the gossip, the envy, the fallacies that entwine the rhetoric and irrelevancies, the distractions that keep us from handling real business. Reunite your body and soul. Be your own goddess and don't let non-believers worship at the altar between your legs. And you can take time out to rub the aching from your feet, but don't forget the miles you travel, sister. You've got to remember, or else we'll all forget. And then you can anoint yourself with scented oils of love, wisdom, and patience all over until the light within flows without. Other sisters, they'll see. Maybe Revlon, Maybelline, and CoverGirl will market bath salts that will wash in, make women want to heal themselves, their men, and their babies who are going to love their mothers for stepping up from behind the makeup masks and designer costumes to be real women. Sisters, love and embrace yourself. be the light you walk in. It needs to shine for it to be manifest in all of the things that we say. And I say that because after all the fighting and struggling, surviving and overcoming, we have to heal ourselves. That's the only way that we're going to evolve past the struggle. We have to be whole. Because on the other side of this, the other side of revolution, we're going to have to organize. The only thing worse than dying is being alive and dead inside. You know what I mean? Yeah. The only thing worse than dying is being alive and dead inside. That's why I fight for this life. It's the only one I got, so I'm gonna live it right. I don't take no mess. Not just because I'm another Black woman with an attitude. I gotta keep people in check, or else they'll think they can disrespect my elders and my babies. I gotta be fearless, like in Zinga, when brothers spend more time getting their hair done. They keep making sure LAPD don't continue to commit genocide as they ride around using our babies as target practice. An elder once said, the only debt you owe is to future generations. That's why I'm investing my heart and my soul so that every child will know they're special. It's hard enough growing and learning this life without people attacking and blaming our youth for weaknesses and mistakes that they took no part in making. If they don't know that love ain't clothes or money, it's because we haven't taught them that love is understanding and forgiveness. It's respect for other people and appreciation of self. If we stopped entertaining the lies, we finally see that if this democracy were truly free, our lives would be signed away to the Department of Treasury. We wouldn't be numbered and coded so that one day the debt could be collected. We might think about demanding our sovereignty so that when Babylon does finally bow down to God, our people won't be subject to the mark of the beast. They haven't created the disease or drug or police departments that can kill the human will to live. No weapon formed against us shall prosper, although the best weapon has proven to be ourselves. A voluntary slave, now that's a show more food. The corporations, they got us believing that capitalist heaven, that's it, right? Right. But it's fatal to believe that we're on this plantation without gates. This new world is already in order, y'all. Y'all know this with the mask on. The only thing that's free up in here is trade. The only thing worse than dying is being alive, dead inside. The only thing worse than dying is being alive, dead inside. But we are alive. That's right.
Thank you. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. And if we could make a macro of this microcosm, imagine what we could do. And the reality is that we can't. Let's get organized. Let's commit. Let's bring some youth and get them in organizations. Let's work with the youth. Let's work with ourselves to be what we're talking about. You know, show by action and by work. And so we want further inspiration. We're going to welcome, as we close, welcome Dr. Chin.
Actually, you're going to tell them as my executive producer what has been surrounding this while I catch it up.
Okay.
Say it nicely though.
Let me first.
Nice.
Yes, first, let me just remind you, we have a sign-up sheet in the back. If you're interested in learning more about the party, we have materials. We also have books, other products, t-shirts and whatnots from Nikki B. And I thought Jahar has some of the most beautiful paintings. We don't have to do something else so that we can bring that. Because that, I mean, when we really pull it out, when we really get confidence to come out as a people, you know what I'm saying? Even the conscious people for them to come out, you know what I'm saying? Or the ones that say they conscious, or you know what I'm talking about. So there's them folks. So when we're really ready, we want to do something because your art, your paintings are so powerful and so beautiful. And again, decades ago, you were painting murals and living up the community that I'm in, Long Beach, Strong Beach, you know what I'm saying? So giving thanks that your touch is still in our communities on Santa Fe, City Hill, so you there, you know what I'm saying? But we want to make sure that we give support to those who are doing the work. So let us make sure we do that. The Queens of the Again, the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, the All-African Women's Revolutionary Union, the party born in Africa by Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, taken up the mantle by young warriors of the Black Panther Party, of SNCC, CORE, that decided that the core, as Nkrumah said, of the Black Liberation Movement was in Africa. The core of the Black, doesn't mean it ain't all over the world. The core is where our continent is, where our land is. So we are trying to build a Pan-African party that represents all of the territories and micro-states and nations that think they're nations and islands that think they're islands that have African people. We're trying to unite them, and especially the women, for us to have one objective, the total liberation and unification of our people under socialism, under scientific socialism, to create a unified Africa and diaspora. That's what our objective is. And again, we continue to encourage and work with all of you. And in that vein, we have been inspired by the work of our sister, Chinzira, and talking about raising up the names of sisters and raising up the images and the work that sisters do. And a lot of times we don't know all that sisters do. We hear about what sisters did, and we call names of folks that are thousands of years old or hundreds of years old, but we don't know about the kind of work and the kind of examples. So the Queens of the Virgin Island has been something we have been talking about. I witnessed a version of it, a small version of it at Pan-African Women's Day in 2006 or something like that. And I said, we have to put this on film. And since then, it is a story about women, regular women, who fought against oppression, who fought for liberation, and fought by any means necessary before that term was even used. Queen Mary, Queen Refa, and Queen Hosiah, representing St. Croix, St. John, and St. Thomas. So here we have hopefully just a snippet of what is coming to fruition. Thanks to the Virgin Islands.
We speak from this nation. We embrace an opportunity to highlight the fusion of language, culture, traditional folklore, and heritage in a sacred way. We use this as an opportunity to highlight a history that is specific to freedom fighters, our women, our queens, our leaders, the backbone of our community, from 1733 to 1892. So we will gather points in vision of flourishing, of universal impact of these particular communities. great revolution in St. John in 1733, having its roots in globalization, leading up to the outburst to some rebellion to others on February 23rd, 1733, which lasted on African leadership of Queen Breadfruit and other colonies. A labor of the great firebrand on this island led in October 1st, 1878.
I'm free of wind. Free of title deed. I'm Queen Mary. My birth name is Mary Thomas, and I live right here on St. George. I'm born and raised in Antigua, in the West Indies. I know that my people come from Africa, so I come from a long bloodline of matriarchs. A long line of queens that relate the people with confidence. I live on the West Plantation Estate and Wing, right up here. But I have worked at estates like Pawd and Williams and Control. I am one of the queens of great fiber of 1878. An 80 worker. And let me tell you, I'm tired of this foolishness. Right? There are many, many reasons why they have to fiber in 1878. When you were born and where you born has nothing to do with the war. I'm Queen Mary.
And then we progress on to the great engaging life experience of one of the first successful, non-violent, bloodless protests in this region being referred to as these parts of the United States on the island of St. Thomas, led by Queen Keziah of Angola, Queen.
fight for men, nickel for money, and cents every day. We're outside working from sun up to sundown.
So I was just thinking, we're gonna need subtitles. I mean, something that I can understand, but I'm like, we're gonna this is a Pan-African festival. We really need subtitles for that. We know we get it. It's gonna be Africans, but it's gonna be some white folks. It's like, hey, let me say what they're saying. We need some subtitles. Yes, we need that, you know. Okay.
That would be nice.
Yes, yes, but I mean, powerful representation of, you know, when I go used to Firebird, they reenact burning down the whole area, burning down, we carry the sticks. And just a reminder of how our people and how our sisters led burning the plantation down when we weren't respected, when we were fighting for liberation. And so they were boo-hooing and whining what happened last year, but they don't even know how we, you know, even in Watts, you know, and we talk about that all the time in our communities. It don't mean nothing. If we ain't free, this all can go. That don't mean nothing to us. And sisters have been at the front line of that. So we give thanks for the power and the work that's going to continue, and that we get this out in the community. Before we close, that's just some of the work that you know our community and our party is doing. I want Brother John, if you can quickly come up and talk about the book that you wrote, why you wrote it, and why it's important that we purchase that book and that we continue to write and do this work. Brother John.
Greetings, family. Just real quick, I know everybody's like me, hungry. I live in Sacramento. I drove down to support my sisters in the All African. Like Missouri said, longtime organizer for the APRP. Don't have any more books today, but the name of the book is A Guide for Organizing Defense Against White Supremacist, Patriarchal, and Fascist Violence. And the purpose of it is that, as has been said by my comrade sisters, we're organizing a worldwide revolution. We don't care if you don't believe it, it's gonna happen. Whether you believe it or not, it's gonna happen. So don't say we didn't tell you. So we're organizing a worldwide revolution. And in the process of that, the question came up of what about our people that live on this plantation here? Like, what can we do? So the book is just simply a step-by-step guide for the work we can do to organize our communities so that we can build strength and connect with our Pan-African work worldwide, but also do work so that we don't have to rely on these police Gestapo. We don't have to rely on, we can organize ourselves. And just real quick, I've done this work in the party for the last several years. We have created what we call community defense zones. And just to give you an idea what it looks like, we've organized like women identifying people, and we've asked them, who are the abusers in this community? We have classes, conflict de-escalation, self-defense, weapons training, political education is the basis of it all. And then we come together and we say, who are the abusers in this community? They make a list. When I lived in Portland, the sisters made a list. They had 5 dudes' names. And then they said, what do we need a list for? I said, because we're gonna go and visit them. You know, that's why we've been doing all this. We're gonna go and visit them, and we're gonna tell them, you're welcome in the community, but you can't be abusing anybody here. And so we did that. It was like 11, 12 sisters, and then it was me. And we went there. The first guy, he's like, well, I got drug and alcohol. Yeah, we got counseling for you free. We got rides for you to get there and back free. We even got lunch for you when you go to counseling. So we can help you find a job, but you will not be able to abuse another person here. Or else what? Or else you will find out if you do. And so out of those 5, 3 of them, I'll just say they don't live there. Okay. The other 2, and I get regular reports, they're trying to be positive contributors to the community. So that's what the book is designed to do, linked up to our work in Africa. because until Africa's free, we can't be free in Leimert Park. There's no coltan in Leimert Park. There's no oil. There's no lithium. That's why we're in the situation we're in. So we gotta free our homeland. But we can do things right here in Leimert Park to free our homeland. So that's what it's about. Appreciate you all. Love you all.
Okay, so this is the close of our program. We want to thank all of you for coming and supporting. We pretty much are almost on time. We said we started from 3 to 5. We started a little early. We respect you and care about your safety and want you to be safe and healthy. Continue to organize and immunize yourself by eating healthy, exercise. The real immunization is in the food that you eat, and the meditation and the exercise that you get. Continue to take care of yourselves so that we can continue the struggle, continue to organize. And it is a struggle, but there is victory on the other side. Cuba is an example of that. You know what I'm saying? There is peace. Mozambique, that's an example. Angola, that's an example. Venezuela, that's an example. And again, they give it hell to all of these places, right? But there's still examples of people who fought for liberation and women who stood alongside, took arms or whatever was needed to fight for liberation. These are the examples that we have. And we can continue to inspire each other. Let's keep connected, keep building, keep organizing so that we can move forward ever, backwards never. Let's remain ready for the revolution, y'all. Thank you. Courageous souls you are. Oh, yeah.